Well, NJ, I know you're sitting all the way back there, but it's time for 2 hour-long Q&A. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Are you going to come forward?
No.
Or are you just going to stay in the background? As you guys know, because Terminator NJ is going to be here next week, and we want to get a load of questions out of the way. Not just that, but we have a lot of questions right now, which we do want to actually try and get through, so you guys can get our answers as soon as possible, which is one of the reasons we're doing this Q&A. So yeah, an hour-long Q&A. Let's go. Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Q&A with us, the British Fist.
Catching.
Mr. Parkin here for this hour-long Q&A. The guy sitting next to me, NJ, with a lovely, lovely coat on because it's very cold in this room we're doing right now. So there's NJ right there.
What's up?
And we're all geared up with drinks and stuff because it's going to be a long Q&A. But like I said, you keep sending us your questions in. Excuse yourself there, NJ. He's going to have hiccups now throughout the whole damn Q&A. Keep giving us your questions in the comment section through our YouTube inbox, through facebook.com/BritishFist or twitter.com/BritishFist with the British Fist QA hashtag. So keep sending us questions in. Keep sending your questions for Terminator NJ next week so I can get my Bray Wyatt friend back. Yeah.
And thank you very much, people. Let's dive straight into this.
Yes, indeed. Scorpion Review. This is going to be the first of many questions on this Q&A. How long will CM Punk hold the WWE title and who is going to be the next champion? I think it's a good opportunity for us now to go into more depth on some of these questions. He'll eventually either lose the title to Cena to keep this feud going until Rock, or he will lose the title to Rock at Royal Rumble. Those are the two big candidates right now. He's not going to lose it to anyone else because no one else is really at his level right now.
And sadly, to keep the Cena feud going, as much as I'm going to hate it, Cena's probably going to win it somewhere down the line, probably towards Rumble, so CM Punk can still get... There's a possibility CM Punk can get Rock at Mania. And also, the fact is that Cena's not had the title for so long, they're bound to give in to him sooner or later.
I mean, let's face it, two things here. They need to, either they're going to have Cena win the belt, like you said, because they're going to have to find ways to continue that feud onwards, and there's only so much they can do to continue the feud with CM Punk as champion. So they're going to need to give Cena the belt at some point. Either that, or Punk holds the belt until Royal Rumble when Rock will beat him, or he will lose the belt to John Cena, and then John Cena will get defeated or by Rock at Royal Rumble. Either one of those, but CM Punk will either lose it to Rock or Cena. I'd say he's more likely to lose it to Cena at some point because they're going to need to keep the feud continuing, but Rock he should definitely lose to if he does get his shot at the Royal Rumble.
Let's move on.
Mr. Supreme Singh, who was your favourite stable and why? We could talk about this for hours, couldn't we? DX, yeah, I must admit, I always liked DX. They were very edgy and something... Like, it was like competition for NWO back in the WCW versus WWE days. I like DX a lot.
And NWO, if you're not down with that, we at DX have got 2 words for you.
Suck it! Or what's up? That might be a good one. The British Fist. If you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you!
What's up?
Yeah, indeed. So, what about other stables while we're here? Like Evolution?
Nexus!
The Nexus Evolution was a favourite of ours. I mean, you had Triple H, your guy, leading the group with Flair as the manager, and 2 future stars, Batista and Orton, going
4 Horsemen.
The 4 Horsemen was very good as well. Very good in the NWA days with Ric Flair leading the group.
Radicals.
The Radicals were also a very good stable who came into WWE.
Too Cool.
Too Cool. That was a very fun stable, wasn't it? Remember the Worm and Rikishi dancing? So many great stables.
Nation of Domination.
Nation of Domination. We are the nation of domination. We are the nation. What about Slater? And Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre? What a stable that is. Yeah, we'll move on from that one.
Yes,
Killswitch John. What do you guys think will happen to Zack Ryder? Do you think he'll ever get more screen time and any more pushes, at least to mid-card status? I really want to hear your guys' opinions on this. So, Zack Ryder.
He should have stayed in the tag team, but when he became the US champ, I guess it was somewhat for the internet fans, but then when he lost it, I think they just thought he's had his time. Just like other people in the past, you give them their time, have it, you're happy, that's it, move on.
I mean, let's face it, the thing is with Zack Ryder is he was never going to go anywhere further than mid-card. So he won the mid-card championship, and that was really all they could do with him. There was no logical progression for Zack Ryder, because let's face it, in today's world, he was never going to go past mid-card. I mean, the only reason he can get screen time now is because of his gimmick, which I think does deserve a little bit of screen time, but he's never going to get beyond mid-card status, really. But I think as a mid-carder going after the US or IC championship, he's not a bad guy, but he's just never... What's the point in giving him the belt when he's never going to go beyond it and use it as a stepping stone? I guess that's my issue with Zack Ryder. He's always going to be mid-card or undercard.
Zack Ryder should either go back to his old tag team, relive that, but in a different way, because obviously he's moved too far away from who he used to be with him, or go back to the internet.
So you'd feel that he'd be better off in a tag team?
I think at the point that, yes, he's over singly, but I don't think he's over to a point where some fans, not all fans, some fans would really care about him.
He would work in a tag team. Don't get me wrong. I think he could work in a tag team. Do you guys think Kurt Angle will ever return to WWE? Well, let's face it. The reason why he moved away from WWE was because of the travel schedule. And that's why he works for TNA, to have a very, very light travel schedule.
Was it? I thought because eventually it's because he couldn't take. You suck. You suck. You suck! Yeah, I thought that's the video.
You suck!
That's it,
yeah, we suck. But anyway, Kurt Angle, I don't think will ever return to the WWE unless they pay him a lot of money to do a light schedule and he gets a Hall of Fame place. But with TNA now having a Hall of Fame, I feel they may put Kurt Angle in there before WWE really has the chance. So I would say no. I don't see why Kurt Angle would return unless it's going to be for a short-term big paycheck.
Probably is.
Yeah. The whoopee whoop, the whoopee whoop, the whoopee whoop, the whoopee whoop. My question is to Mr. Parkin, but in any promotions, WCW, WF, WWE, who is your favorite wrestler of all time in the 90s? The Rock is the best wrestler of the 90s. Did you smell what the Rock is cooking? What about you, NJ?
Cockroach. Oh,
Why
is my voice?
Oh,
yeah, I just love him.
the bad guy. What a great guy he was. But yeah, I mean, in the 90s, for me, it was Rock. I mean, that was when we first started watching WWF at the time, really, in the 90s, and he was the guy for me that stood out the most. I would love to have been part of the golden era of the Hogans, the Macho Mans, the Jake the Snakes, the Warriors, etc. But for me, it was Rock, just because of that was the era I started living in with WWE.
Yeah, that's true.
LRTOMG. LRTOMG. Do you think Punk will face Stone Cold at WrestleMania?
Dirty.
I think this is a topic of debate. Punk is a heel now. He does need to face a big star. He faced Jericho at WrestleMania 28. And he could face Rock down the line. So what a better way of putting CM Punk over as a possible top future draw for the company than putting him up against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, we know at the time Stone Cold Steve Austin is going through surgery, but at WrestleMania 30, what a great WrestleMania 30 match that could be for a guy like CM Punk and Stone Cold.
The thing I've said this many times, it's been hinted. It's like if they don't go with it, for the people that know it's been hinted, it's going to be a bit of a letdown. And plus, Austin's not always going to be injured. I think he's going to be able to come to a capacity where he can wrestle. If it's going to be just for one match, why not CM Punk? I can't think of anyone better. Not Cena. So CM Punk would be the best one.
So I think that it will happen, but it depends on Austin's health, whether he can go in the ring. It should happen, but will it happen? Austin's health will be the final say on that one. Live Forever 329. Remember in the previous Q&As you said no more Cena questions? Yeah. Well, guess what? We got a Cena question. What are your top 5 John Cena matches? Sorry, at least he apologised. Sorry, NJLOL. We had a good match with Punk at Money in the Bank 2011.
He had the best match against The Rock.
The Rock at 28. That was definitely a good match. What about... let's go back a little bit. What about Batista? He always had good matches with Batista because them two seem to play very well off each other.
As much as it's true, Cena still win too many.
Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 23.
Not really give that away. Shawn Michaels, again, the thing about Cena, I'm going to say this, it's normally his opponent that makes him look better than he is. So we can name loads of matches.
Triple H.
Punk, Triple H. It's always been his opponent that's made him look better. So we can name quite a few.
Yeah, those are the main matches for me, really, that were John Cena's best 5. Okay. Mega Freddy 25. What is your opinion on WrestleMania 19? Well, I've got a little present for you here, Mega Freddy 25. Even though it's on Mirrored, we have WrestleMania 19 here, and we did a review on it. If you search WrestleMania 29 in our YouTube channel bit, you'll be able to find you should be able to find a review we did on WrestleMania 19. A very, very good pay-per-view. I mean, you look at the top 5 matches here. Shawn Michaels Jericho, Hogan McMahon, Austin versus Rock, Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar. Those are the top 4 matches on this card. I mean, how could you not like that? That was great. Some great matches there at WrestleMania 19.
It had matches that really sold it really well. Like all these matches that we just named did pay off in great ways. So I really think that this one is going to stand out as one of the WrestleManias that have the best matches on the card.
I mean, you got Shawn Michaels, Chris Jericho. What a great story that was and a great match. Triple H versus Booker T. It may not have been the best match, but it was still a decent match on there, really, for the World Heavyweight Championship. 20 years in the making, Hogan versus Mr. McMahon, playing off that drug trial thing that they had that Hogan went against McMahon. What a great storyline that was at the time. I can
remember that match, even though we haven't watched it recently. I can remember how it went down. Very nicely done. and the fact that them two went on for a good amount of time for a guy like Vince McMahon and Hogan, it was just unbelievable. I think that was just a great match.
And the thing is about these two is they were great guys. They weren't necessarily the best in the ring, but they were great at telling stories, and they were great with the facials and working the crowd. And that was what made this match, in my opinion. The last ever Stone Cold Steve Austin match was also on this pay-per-view, Austin versus Rock, the one where Rock finally won out of their 3 matches. Wasn't the best of their 3. I still think that was 17. But still a good match with story, with Rock being the heel.
So for you people that haven't got this DVD yet, I'll be surprised if you haven't, definitely buy it.
And what about the main event, Angle versus Lesnar? Putting over Lesnar as the next big thing. I know they had that botch at the end, but Angle carrying Lesnar to a pretty good match.
And plus, when you see those, they had a great feud. So for them to main event at WrestleMania and went on, yes, you could say that Vince McMahon and Hogan was a great way to finish, but you have to level up what was more important.
Any of them could have been main event. Michaels versus, Triple H was the top guy at the time. Michaels versus Jericho could have main evented. Hogan McMahon could have main evented based on the story. Austin and Rock were the 2 biggest stars in the company at the time. They could have main evented.
The fact is, Austin's last match, it could be debatable by some of you fans.
Yeah. Austin was one of the biggest stars in WWE history, and his last match was the semi-main event at WrestleMania, but they were trying to put over Lesnar at the time. A great WrestleMania. I'd definitely put that in my top 5 WrestleManias of all time. WrestleMania 19 was a very good WrestleMania, and sometimes it's very underrated.
And Angle was definitely putting over Frogface, yes.
George Robbins. What got both you guys into wrestling? I'm guessing it would be Triple H. What about the storylines? I think the drama of WWE, the Attitude Era at the time, was a great place to be a wrestling fan. It was cool to be a wrestling fan as well.
True. The way that they would go around with storylines, and especially the way they would finish matches, creative ideas. Like, yes, it's all about Triple H for me, that got me into it. But they had the Kane character that would set things on fire. His rivalry or feud with Shane McMahon. There's just so much going on that drew my eyes every week, every pay-per-view, and I think that is being missed now.
Yeah, like I said, it was at a time when wrestling was cool. You could go into school and the first thing people would say is, did you watch the wrestling match last night? Did you watch the pay-per-view? Did you watch Raw? And that was what really got us into wrestling. The buzz surrounding it, the storylines, the characters, the wrestling matches, the violence, stuff like that, especially as children, because you've got to remember at the time, we were young kids. So to us, this was really big, and this was really the kind of thing that our parents didn't want us to watch, so it was cool to watch.
And back then, before this whole era changed, the adverts was actually telling us to try this at home, before they had the word don't.
I remember trying it at school, and I was always the jobber, because I was always the one that was taking all the bumps. Man, I was a good jobber, I think. If you were a WWE talent scout, what 5 wrestlers would you bring from TNA to WWE?
Bring back Bully Ray.
Bully Ray right now would be a great guy to bring back to WWE.
Bring back Tara. She's a diva, but I'll still knockout.
We could do more than 3 essentially. James Storm is would be a real good fit in WWE. Same with Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe, I was going to say that because obviously, as much as I would love Abyss, they're not good at booking monsters, so I decided not to say Abyss now.
What other? AJ Styles, I probably wouldn't because of his size.
I think a strong Intercontinental champion. He screamed out Intercontinental, even though I would like to see him in the main event. He screamed out a true mid card.
What about Jeff Hardy? Jeff Hardy, would you bring him back to WWE for a run, maybe?
He did promise it, but I think if I weren't thinking in the eyes of Vince McMahon, thinking Jeff, you screwed up.
Bobby Roode.
It was definitely over, so I say Jeff Hardy could do something good.
Bobby Roode as well. The standout performers in TNA right now are there, and there is a lot of TNA roster talent that could be in WWE, but Vince McMahon is probably never going to bring these guys through because they're with TNA. I would also say an Angle as well, just for the purposes of the Hall of Fame. But
true, but obviously we're naming XW wrestlers, but the two that will definitely will be Bully Ray for me and probably James Storm here.
James Storm, I do think would be a good fit for WWE, in my opinion. JJ3628. Did you ever wish you didn't know about the wrestling? I'll rephrase this, because this is a very, very interesting question that provides a lot of argument here, and we invite you to put your arguments in the comment section below. Do you ever wish you didn't know how the wrestling business works, as it takes away from your enjoyment? Well, there is a lot of truth to that, isn't there?
What do you mean, how wrestling works?
How wrestling works.
Yeah, how do you mean?
Like, in the way that wrestling is fake and scripted and stuff. Is that all along? You didn't know? Oh my god! Yeah, I don't know, but oh, he's back.
Yes,
he knew all along. He's fantastic. He's fantastic at being a drama queen. He's It is a really valid question because right now we know what goes on in the wrestling business and we know about booking. But as a casual fan, if you were watching Raw right now as a casual fan, would you really give a shit about the booking and stuff like that? It's those kind. It does take away the enjoyment a little bit because we focus on these things a little bit too much sometimes.
If the first match, let's say you were just a start up in wrestling, the first match you saw was Lesnar and John Cena, you probably think, wow, this is real. But then matches following that, you say, oh, that doesn't look real, especially when they do too many botches. You just think, there's something wrong here, there's something not right, especially weapon usage. So the fact that he's changed over the years, I do think that is affecting stuff in a big way.
I mean, to be honest, I think the way sometimes, and this appeals to everyone in the YWC, including us, sometimes we do overanalyze things a little bit, and that does partake our enjoyment of the product sometimes, and it is very prevalent in the YWC as well. I mean, we as smart marks we do overanalyze stuff, and it does take away from you. I mean, you can't be a casual fan and a smart mark. Do you know what I mean? And if you you've got to compare. If you were looking at something as a smart mark and then as a casual fan, you would love it as a casual fan because you wouldn't be overanalyzing it. That's the thing.
And that's the thing. I try, as much as I do like to work out stuff so I know what's coming in some way, but at the same time I do try my hardest to stay as a casual, just to enjoy what they're writing, what they're giving us. So try and balance it out. That's the main thing.
So do I, but I think that sometimes this knowledge of the WWE and the way the business works does override that, and that happens automatically, and that's the problem. Also, a big issue for me is that I'm a business brain. I mean, I did a degree in business, so for me, my business brain seems to really kick in above my fan brain sometimes, which is annoying, but gives me a better insight into the way things work in businesses. So it is a very valid question, and I do invite you guys to put your thoughts in the comment section below. This is another good question here, because I've actually watched this DVD very recently. After watching the rise and fall of WCW, I've noticed that TNA used a lot of things that WCW did back in the 90s. Why was this? Was it because of Russo? Yes.
Yeah, TNA do use the pow, bang, whoa, that stuff. That was great stuff.
It is Russo because he's trying to implement things he did in WCW with TNA, and we've seen that a lot with the factions like the Main Event Mafia. That's essentially an NWO. We've seen the factions. We've seen stuff bringing back guys like Sting. They've used a lot of old WCW talents like Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Jeff Jarrett. There's loads of people like that. So I think TNA is quite similar to the way WCW is, but now they've changed their writing. They're not very similar to WWE in the way they do things now. Although, I will say this, the way TNA does their business model is very similar to WCW because WCW focused on ratings and TNA are the same. They don't really put too much emphasis on their pay-per-views. So that is not necessarily a Vince Russo thing, but it is something that it's a Dixie Carter slash TNA business model thing.
But the difference between TNA and WCW is that I don't think TNA is going to fall.
Yeah, and that is the thing. The problem with WCW is they were pumping so much money in and they didn't get enough money out, and the network didn't want them. Whereas TNA right now are the highest rated thing on Spike, so they're always going to have a TV channel to be on. So, and they've also, if they can get their business brain sorted out, then they could probably be in a better position right now. But again, a very valid question there. And another three good questions here. What do you think the hottest 5 angles of all time?
Nexus is going to stand out as a recent thing for me.
A recent thing. I'm going to go more old school with this one. The Montreal Screwjob will always be a big angle in setting up the Attitude Era, along with Austin McMahon. So those are 2 big angles. Hogan and Andre launched a new era in wrestling, so I'd say that as well.
I think it helped WrestleMania, but the streak, even though you might not have this angle, but it was so so big, it's going to have every WrestleMania that made that a big selling point.
Definitely. The NWO was also a big one simply because of the fact that it made the Monday Night Wars. I mean, it essentially created DX, really, essentially, because WWE needed a faction to combat what NWO were doing. So I think that another big angle is the NWO angle in WCW.
Very true. They brought out everything.
Notice how all these angles we're talking about right now are angles that affected the business in a positive manner. We didn't include stuff like Cena, Punk Orton or Triple H Orton or stuff like that because they didn't really affect the business that much. Whereas those angles we did, they're hot because they affected the business in such a way where it changed the landscape of the business essentially. So that's why they were in there. A very similar question here. What is your favourite storyline in professional wrestling? Anvil 26X.
Storyline, again, my favourites would be, Ric Flair's retirement, Shawn Michaels one, similar. So those 2 are going to be my favourites, just of what they did building up to their final match.
Second, that's all I'll say about that. My favourite storylines in professional wrestling, Brett versus Shawn was always a good storyline. Austin McMahon, the guy in the company trying to go after his boss, was always a good storyline.
Who ran over Stone Cold?
Who ran over Stone Cold was a massive storyline at the time, wasn't it? There's so many storylines these great storylines.
Who's the enormous general manager?
Yeah, fuck that shit. What about the invasion angle? Was like a big storyline at the time. Oh no, it fucked up, but it was one of those storylines which stands out. Okay, we'll move on.
I didn't like that one.
Christopher, give us some of your favourite storylines in the comment section, please. We implore you to. Christopher McKellar from Facebook. If the streak was to end, who would you like to end it, and what move? So how would you end the streak? I wouldn't end it personally.
If I had to end it, even though his return's been absolutely awful, I'm sticking to it. I think it'd be great for him. It'll be even though he maybe not is seen as the next top dog, even though I think he could be not as great as Triple H, but on that near level, Barrett.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone, I think people would probably say Cena because he's the top guy in the company. But I mean, I think if you're going to end it, you might as well give a young guy a rub like a Wade Barrett or something. So I guess I'd say Wade Barrett. We said that in many Q&As now. So like, give us your thoughts. If the streak had to end, who would end it? Do you think there's anyone in the WWE right now that could legitimately end the streak? Because I really don't.
Triple H.
Even though he's lost 3 times.
So I think the 4th might be his lucky one.
I don't think so.
And what move, Barry Live, just bring that for one more time.
Yeah.
And the fact you bring it back to this one time is a special way to finish Taker off.
I think if he was to go, the Buried Alive match would be the best way of doing it, because then you can play off the fact that he's now been buried, and that would be a good way to end it. So rest in peace, exactly. What are your top 5 feuds ever in the WWE? There are loads. We could go on loads here. You liked Triple H versus HBK, didn't you? That was one of your favourite feuds.
It definitely stands out. They're best friends, but they also didn't like each other through their friendship. Very nice.
I know you were a big fan of Triple H and Orton. I know why, because it was a very intense feud at the time. It's just a shame the WrestleMania 25 match didn't live up, in my opinion, but there you go.
As much as out of all the Evolution members, it's just that the Orton really stood out. And the fact that happened twice in 2 big ways for different reasons, it definitely was my 2 favourite feuds.
Even though I never got to live it or really see it properly, Hogan and Andre is a big feud. Austin McMahon was essentially the linchpin of the Attitude Era. Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. They only fought a couple of times on pay-per-view, but they had such an immense, because of Shawn's backstage politics and Bret Hart's method of doing business. They had so much heat between each other. That was a great feud, you know.
Triple H, Rock, or as I'm going to say, even though it weren't the best, Undertaker and Kane, just because of their history they brought up with each other. In fact, that Kane did that thing to take it in the Bad Blood, yeah.
That, again, another great feud. WrestleMania 14 match was fantastic. What about Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin? One of the best matches they had was at WrestleMania 13. That was a great feud for setting up Stone Cold for that run as the main babyface in WWE in 1998.
There's ones that stand out, and I'm thinking, obviously, there may be miniature ones, but the ones that actually stood out that actually you want to see every week or every pay-per-view was them.
I always enjoyed, and this is because it's probably one of my favourite matches of all time, Cactus Jack versus Triple H. I love that feud. The match at Royal Rumble, the way they brought back Cactus Jack when they were making fun of Mankind as the corporation, and then the match at No Way Out, the Hell in a Cell match. 2 fantastic matches, and that was also a personal favourite feud, because that was when I started watching wrestling. That's what got me into it.
Another thing, I'm just going to say this quick, because there's many ones I could say, apart from probably one from the top of my head, was Vince McMahon and any of his opponents apart from Zach Gowen.
Yeah, all right, okay. This is an interesting one as well. We're getting a lot of good questions here, by the way. What is Vince McMahon's best and worst action in WWE? Okay, best, we'll start with best. WrestleMania 1. Raw. Those were 2 big parts of WWE. Setting up WrestleMania, and then that linchpinned so many things like Hogan Andre, which then linchpinned Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and Raw starting in '93 was a great decision by McMahon.
As much as that is true, as we saw on the Raw 1000, the one that stands out for me is Vince McMahon hiring Eric Bischoff.
Yeah, loads of actions like that. As for the worst, I guess 3 Hours was a terrible decision by Vince McMahon. The Invasion storyline and buying out WCW. I mean, it was a good business decision, but the way they did it was just awful.
Encouraging Linda to do this Senate thing. I'm pretty sure he had a big part in it.
I mean, supporting Linda McMahon and using his business to do that is a terrible decision by Vince McMahon. It's really affecting the company. Some would say the Attitude Era was a great decision by Vince McMahon, and the Montreal Screwjob was. But the only trouble is that the only trouble with the Attitude Era is, it set such a high level that anything coming after it, like now, really couldn't live up to it. So in some way, it could be seen as a bad decision they actually do, even though it was the most profitable eras of all time.
Vince McMahon helping Cena to be as big as he is today.
Yeah, well, that's a personal one though, right? So Vince McMahon, as a person, has made a lot of good decisions for WWF and WWE, and really made the business something what it is today. But he has made some terrible ones as well. So one of them was to go to, I believe, a public company when they really didn't need to. They had a lot of cash and stuff, and then Vince had to answer to a board of directors, and then so he had less control over the company, and he had to satisfy shareholders and stuff. That was another bad decision. But the Linda McMahon one was a big one as well, because that led to the PG era and the way the WWE essentially is now, essentially hanging over a woman's Senate race, I guess. Let's just move on.
Cena.
Let's just move on. Anything Goes show WWE. And also, Laurel Lewis asked a very similar question to this, so we're going to do this at the same time. What would be your dream WrestleMania card for next year, or WrestleMania 30? I know Anything Goes show wanted WrestleMania 30. So let's think of some dream matches. We'll start off with Austin Punk. That is a dream match we want to see at some point.
That again, we said this in other Q&As we've done. It's teased. It's a big match, and the fact that Punk needs as much big wrestling, not always Cena, to be putting him over as a top dog in the WWE. Austin would definitely be the one for him.
And I think the best way of doing this, we'll think of some current stuff, and then we'll think of some dream stuff. I think Barrett Taker has always been a match which has enthralled us too. Cody and putting over Cody Rhodes with the Mick Foley. Exactly.
I don't see any fault in that because, as you can see, Foley deserves, like we said many times, he's got probably a year or so whenever they're going to actually do this match or possibly do this match. Foley can get into shape ready for this.
Sin Cara and Rey Mysterio, I guess you could put in that level as a dream match you've never really seen before.
It is teased to happen, but again, he's definitely two people that would work well together.
Do you know what? I mean, I know we've already had Taker against Barrett, but what about Taker against John Cena? We haven't really probably seen that match at WrestleMania before, have we? So it would be some kind of draw. I mean, we never saw Austin versus Hulk Hogan. I mean, I'm talking about dream matches here. If we're talking current roster, Triple H versus Damian Sandow would be a great storyline.
That would be one. Obviously, they'd have to have a reason to face each other, and Sandow's got to find a way to get to Triple H. But that would be a good match for the sake of them two liking each other and all this stuff. Yeah,
I thought that Triple H versus Sandow would be a great way to culminate a Sandow versus DX feud. They had that whole DX thing at Raw 1000. Why not have Sandow beat Billy Gunn, beat X-Pac, and then beat Road Dogg, and then face Triple H at WrestleMania? A great build-up to that big match at WrestleMania, Sandow getting his revenge on DX until he faces Triple H, who would probably put himself over, but I mean, I'd see that as a kind of dream match.
I'm going to make one small one, not a dream match. No one's going to agree with this. There's not going to be any of you subscribers out there that will agree with this, but CM Punk versus a face Vince McMahon.
A face Vince McMahon?
I would like, because obviously Vince is trying to make everyone like him for all these ideas he's coming up. But Vince, as we've said in other ones, he's put on great matches for different storytelling. And you know that CM Punk is very outspoken, or should be outspoken, to speak to the boss. I know it'd be Triple H eventually, but right now, Vince, I think that could be a level up.
I think if we're talking dream matches, Macho Man Rock would be one I would definitely have. Rest in peace, Macho Man. And Austin versus Hulk Hogan, simply because they were the two biggest draws that WWE has ever seen, and I would definitely have those two as my semi and main events if I was going to do a dream at WrestleMania card.
I think that's those ones, yes.
Yes, and we also have more questions from Laurel Lewis. Continuing from that, what former divas would you bring back to help build the current ones?
We've got two.
Lita
and Trish Stratus.
Lita and Trish Stratus were the two main divas that came around, and I think they would be the best two.
If I had to bring one more, she's still available. It's just because I think she would be great, and that is Tara.
Or Victoria that was in WWE. I mean, let's face it right now, the Divas division is dead. If they could bring back a Trish Stratus or a Lita, at least we would care more about the Divas division then. Really?
Very true. And if Karma didn't mess things up, she would have been good to see what ideas they would have had for her. But sadly, I think it's Lita and Trish at the two top.
Karma was one of those. I would love to have seen what WWE had planned with her. I mean, a match with Beth Phoenix, who's now currently obviously left the company, as we know, in October. That would have been a great match to see, a dream match at WrestleMania. Continuing from our last Q&A question that we answered. Okay, which pay-per-views would you bring back? There are loads here. We did a video a while back when we did our own pay-per-view schedule, and there were loads on there. I mean, we said No Way Out. They brought that back, but I'd like to have No Way Out in place of Elimination Chamber, because I don't see why put an Elimination Chamber is really good for the especially 6 weeks before Mania, an Elimination Chamber match. The chance of injuries is very high.
Very true. About a year ago, we did say about how these gimmicky pay-per-views are just not really the best idea for the WWE. So get rid of all the gimmicky ones and bring back the classics that people grew up loving, which are like Armageddon.
Yeah. Backlash.
No Mercy.
Judgment Day.
And favourite in our way, but more Dan's, King of the Ring.
And I would mainly say King of the Ring because I think King of the Ring would replace the Money in the Bank, which has just become a lazy way of the writers writing a main eventer from a mid-carder, which doesn't work. King of the Ring would definitely be a pay-per-view I would like to see come back, even though it didn't always do its job, but it would just be great as a concept, rather than seeing it on a Raw, seeing it as a pay-per-view before SummerSlam, where the King of the Ring win against the title shot, like how it was with Lesnar in 2002, and people like that. Job Christ J. Since the Divas division is basically dead, do you think WWE should just get rid of it and give more young talent screen time?
Well, I did mention this in a Raw. The fact that without the Divas division, there still is photography thing on WWE.com. So in a way, get rid of it. Yes, they're hiding their money a bit, but the Divas are still there.
I mean, to be honest with you, you do need some elements of a women's division because there are always going to be female fans who may want to see females wrestle. But to be honest, if you're gonna book them like this and make them feel like they mean like nothing, then you may as well just get rid of it and use them as eye candy. I mean, I don't like saying that because they've got some great talents like Layla. I mean, you could even talk about Eve Torres and AJ Lee. They've got some good talents in there, but they're just not booking the division in a great way. And now Beth Phoenix has left and Natalia's not getting booked right and Karma left.
To be honest, I don't have a favourite diva anymore because Beth Phoenix used to stand right up there. Tamina was inches because of her snooker thing, but they didn't really follow on from that. So to be honest, no. Yeah, no, I mean, they may as well just get rid of it. But at the same time, they do need some resemblance of a women's division to appeal to, horny adult males, I guess, on the screen. Like, remember Tori Wilson and Dawn Marie kissing in a bedroom? Remember that? Wonder who was done to appeal to. Yeah, indeed, our demographic men. Anything Goes Show WWE. They asked us a lot of questions, so we're going to give them another shout-out. Anything Goes Show WWE, go subscribe. If you've made it half an hour through this Q&A. What are your top 5 WrestleManias since WrestleMania 20? Okay, so we'll go through the WrestleManias. They've not all been terrible. They've not been terrible. They've been like odd, horrible matches. So I'm not saying since 20 they've all been bad, but they've just not been the best matches on those pay-per-views.
The thing is, a top 5 on our list may just be a bad one that just wasn't as bad as the bottom 3. So we'll go through these in order. WrestleMania 20, okay, we can't do that one because it's since WrestleMania 20. I guess, no, let's just go from WrestleMania 20. This DVD we have here, WrestleMania 20. That WrestleMania will be on the top 5, in my opinion. That was a great WrestleMania. I mean, you had Eddie versus Angle, you had Evolution versus Rock and Sock Connection. I know Goldberg and Brock Lesnar sucked, but you had in the main event Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels. That was a great WrestleMania. And that was like a B minus WrestleMania, in my opinion, which definitely makes the top 5.
I give it credit for what they did, but again, there was just stuff that really didn't live up as strong as it could have done, but it was still a good pay-per-view to buy and own. WrestleMania 21 was an iconic WrestleMania on the sense that it made Batista and Orton and John Cena into 3 top stars for the WWE at the time. So I think WrestleMania 21, the undercard was very good. And while some people may say that the 2 main events were going out with a whimper, it was still a WrestleMania that I could put in the top 5, definitely, based on the undercard and what the 2 main events did for the company for the next 5 years or so. I agree, it's hard to actually bad-mouth WrestleManias. 21 weren't terrible. It's like one I would watch, so to be honest, I'll say that as well.
So 20 and 21 are in our top 10 list. What about WrestleMania 22? They had Ray winning the belt, Triple H losing to John Cena to establish John Cena as a top guy in the company. They had Mark Henry versus Undertaker. They had Mickie James versus Trish Stratus. That wasn't a bad WrestleMania. I'm not sure if I'd put it on my top 5. I guess it really just depends how bad some of these previous WrestleManias are.
And you all complain about Jay not putting people over. Well, he was not one of the first, but he was one that did things for John Cena.
Well, let's just look at it this way. WrestleMania 20, he put over Benoit. WrestleMania 21, he put over Batista. WrestleMania 22, he put over John Cena. And WrestleMania 23, who did he face at 23? I can't remember. I think was he injured for that, WrestleMania 23?
My memory's switching up.
Exactly, yeah. And 24, he put over Orton. So, he does do jobs occasionally. It's a shame at 25 he didn't do the job for Orton, but there we go. So what about 23? That had Batista Taker in the mid-card. Shawn Michaels Cena. They also had Money in the Bank. I mean, all these had Money in the Bank. Good. Great matches, by the way. And that was one of the reasons why the pay-per-views were so good.
There's some Money in the Banks that they eventually slipped up, but they definitely were entertaining somehow during the match.
McMahon versus Trump was another feud going into that WrestleMania. That was a decent WrestleMania. I don't think it would make my top 5 though. It had some good matches on it, but there was too much filler if I remember correctly. It was too much filler. There's only 8 matches and there was all this filler. 24. That had Michaels versus Flair. That was a great match.
I think that match stole the thing. How they built up to it, the way they performed, and the way that even during the match they showed their emotion both sides. So I think that match stole it.
And the main event was Undertaker versus Edge. I'm not sure if I could put this on the top 5, but it had some really good moments in it.
Like you said, that is one of the best feuds. Again, Taker and Edge, great thing together. So I'd say for those 2 matches, great for that WrestleMania. And
also, they had that SummerSlam Hell in a Cell match to end the feud. So, I mean, WrestleMania 25, I know you like this one. You'll have this in your top 5.
For many reasons.
I didn't think it was that great, but you did.
I did. I loved it. Yeah, some people bash it, but to be honest, there was just so many different matches on there that actually stood out as matches that were worth watching.
Examples being?
There was the Hardy brothers actually going against each other. And for the WWE to actually give Matt Hardy the win, not the most popular brother to that. The Triple H one, yes, it was the year of Orton, but if it finished with Orton, it's a debatable one, so I'm not going to go into that.
Shawn Michaels, Undertaker one.
Yeah, that was a good kick-off of that. And I think we had the whole Chavo stuff get involved.
Money in the Bank as well.
Money in the Bank, yeah.
26 sucked. 27 sucked. 28 was a good pay-per-view, to say the least. So, top 5. So, 5 WrestleManias that you put in your top 5. 20, 21...
25 for me.
25 for you. I would say WrestleMania 24.
Well, it's hard to say some of them, because some of them had the good Triple H and Undertaker, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, so they did give us great matches, but overall pay-per-view, they find it hard as the years went on.
Yeah, I mean, 28 was good, in my opinion, but like I said, there's so much opinions here, it's hard to really make a top 5, but we've gone through our opinions of all of them, so I hope that is good enough for you. Anything goes show, WWE. Howard the Man. If WCW was still around, would Ryback ever go to WCW and face Goldberg? And would this be a good feud? Well, would Ryback be a star in that time? I think is the term. I don't think he would.
Let me just say, if Vince McMahon was running it, I think eventually he would have just made it just for the sake of the chance, the fact that it was there, the fact that it looked like it was going to be a big match. I think it would have happened if Vince was running it. If it weren't Vince, then I think they would have just messed it up somehow.
Well, do you think at the time Ryback would have been like their version of Brock Lesnar, but would he have gone to WCW?
For one match, if it was like a special match just to make that happen, I think yes. That's just how I would have seen it eventually.
What, go to WCW for one match?
No, I don't think it would have gone long term. So I think obviously the WWE would have wanted to push him to the top. I think if they wanted to make that match happen, I think they would have someone made it happen one way or another.
Okay, AJ Warrior with a 0 as the O. 4 questions. NJ. What would your reaction be if Cena knocked on your door and said, "Do you want to hang out, mate?" Well, I tell you what. Let's just do a little run here. Turn the webcam, NJ, to the door. Right.
Son of a gun.
Turn the webcam to the door. Right. Now I'll open the door, and I'll be John Cena. You can be NJ. Yeah.
1 minute, YouTubers.
John Cena here. NJ, do you want to hang out with your favourite superstar?
I want to pedigree him. He fell to the ground, so he's not Superman when I'm done with him. Yeah, that didn't go well, but Superman is no more. Yeah, that'd be it. We're going to talk about Cena too much. Yes, I would have just knocked him out and left him to die. No, not physically.
Yeah, should we just go back? Because
yes.
that was quite funny, I thought. Yeah, anyway, so there you go. I hope that was a good example for you. Not pissed off for the next 20 minutes. This is going to be a long Q&A. Fucking hell. I'm knackered after that. Selling peccaries is... I'm not Cena, come on. How long do you think Kevin Nash's knees would hold him up for?
Are they still going? Is his knee still going?
I don't know. How would Mr. Parkin feel if AJ, not NJ, did Playboy? If AJ did Playboy, I'd just put it this way. I'd have a lot to work off. Just put it that way. If NJ did Playboy, I'm pretty sure all the ladies on YouTube would be digging that shit.
Oh, you want me to be a lap dancer?
No, Playboy NJ. Which 2 superstars will win the Money in the Bank? Have you had some experience doing lap dancing or something?
Let's not go into that.
There's no a side of NJ we haven't seen yet. Which 2 superstars will win the Money in the Bank ladder matches next year?
Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes. Who can win it on Raw?
Ziggler again.
Barrett? I don't know.
I think Royal Rumble for him. I'm going to say it'll be really big if they made it like Sandow.
Sandow would be a good one. Yeah, Sandow and Rhodes. I'd say Sandow and Rhodes. Next set of questions. Charlie Powell. Sorry, it's been 40 minutes. Mine's gone a bit fucked. That's what it's like in a live stream. Charlie Powell. If you could book a 6-man Armageddon Hell in a Cell match with 6 alive wrestlers, past or present, who would it be?
Other than reinventing, just doing the exact same one that was already come and gone. Because that match was pretty decent, but I think I would have changed some wrestlers in it. And
you give your 6, and I'll give my 6.
Okay, it's not good, because obviously I've been doing it from the top of my head.
Go on.
But okay, I'd probably... So what are we doing? If you could...
A 6-man Hell in a Cell, past or present, anyone you want to put in it.
Past or present... I'd love to have Taker be a part of Hell in a Cell, just his.
Taker Triple H would be your 2 first
That'd be 2. I think Kane, obviously, if he was in a feud with his brother there...
It doesn't really matter about feuds, it's just a dream match. So you can have anyone in there as long as you want.
I think for high five, like when you go like, to the top of the cage, you actually do risks. And past or present, can I say Eddie Guerrero, but obviously it's hard to say him, but I would love to have had him in a big
he's
match.
got to be alive, so
sadly,
I just put Austin Rock in there and just put 2, and you can put the Macho Man in there, Hogan in there, Jake the Snake in there, Ultimate Warrior in there.
Pretty strong ones, yes.
Okay, I'll go through my 6. Triple H and Taker, the kings of Hell in a Cells, so I should put them in there. Would also have Kane, Shawn Michaels. I would also have Macho Man Randy Savage. And as my 6th guy, I would have to have The Rock. Those would be my 6 in a Hell in a Cell. As a dream Hell in a Cell match.
There we go.
John Greenan 93. What was your favourite tag match ever? Okay, my favourite tag match.
Okay, that straight away it'll be like the Edge, Dudleys, and things.
The TLC match at WrestleMania 17. Yeah, that was probably the best tag match I've seen. WrestleMania 14 had a good one. New Age Outlaws versus Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie. That was a good one. What other tag matches can we think of? I mean, what about there was a good one. I can't remember when it was, but it was a 5-star. It was like Edge and Rey Mysterio versus Benoit and I think it was Eddie Guerrero or Chavo Guerrero. I can't remember. It was one of the SmackDown 6 at the time. I think it was Unforgiven 2002. They had a 5-star tag match which was incredibly good. I can't remember the names of the people in it, but that was a great tag match. But TLC at WrestleMania 17 was a great match.
The TLCs will always stand out. When you think of tag teams, that's what comes to mind.
And the one at 16 as well was a great ladder match, triple threat ladder match. So
very true, yes.
Drake. Oh, sorry, we've got another question. What are your most memorable botches? And that was literally it. That was literally it. He didn't even take his shirt off, did he?
No.
What about Shockmaster? That was a great botch when he came through the fucking doors, this thing, and then all of a sudden his helmet fell off, and it was like, oh my god.
Okay, it's not the most memorable, but it's just one that happened recently when Rose was doing his dancing.
He couldn't rip his trousers off. What about? Oh shit, it's kind of gone.
Normally, quote when people are doing announcements, they say the wrong thing. They say the wrong word. I can't think of one specific. Like Punk's done it a few times, but
Lesnar at WrestleMania 19 when he botched the that'll be memorable. When he botched the shooting star press off the top rope onto Angle to end the pay per view. God damn, that was a memorable botch to say the least.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, so many. Drake 100 is this next question. What are your thoughts on the ascension on NXT as a stable and now a tag team? Have you seen the NXT? Have you seen Ascension?
Reviews,
okay, right. So yeah, because those reviews are the reason why we're doing an hour Q&A. So come to Terminator Ninja's Q&A next week. Ascension. They have a very unique gimmick. They have a very unique entrance. They have a presence about them. And Ascension is a great faction, in my opinion. They could be a good tag team in WWE. I think one thing that WWE is really lacking is that kind of like scary gimmick that's going to be around. I mean, Undertaker's there, but he's going to be going soon. We're lacking like a scary, horror type gimmick, and Ascension could really offer that in terms of a real scary entrance and characters, and they're good.
Brothers of Destruction, or if they ever did anything with the Boogeyman, which they didn't, but yeah. Anyway.
Great tag team, great tag team now. They used to be a faction, but now then Epico and Raquel Diaz went their separate ways, so it's now Kenneth Cameron and Conor O'Brien. A great faction and stable that I think has a future in WWE. Jensen2027. What is your opinion about WWE teaming up with Warner Brothers to make a Scooby-Doo movie with WWE superstars as characters? Yeah! Psych Scoob! What's your opinion on that, NJ?
Sorry, the kids came out to play. They said that the WWE you're doing exactly what we want you to do. But the grown-ups are like, WWE, I'm through with you. I'm out of here. Well done, WWE. Scooby-Doo. Of all the shows you pick, Scooby-Doo. What up, Tom and Jerry? For flip's sake.
Zoinks, NJ! Let's just move on from that. No, it sucks. We don't want to see that. Imagine like Cody Rhodes going to Shaggy's. I don't even want to imagine it. Joshua Adams. Who's your favourite Brit, storyline or real, wrestler of all time?
Damien Wolf.
Desmond Wolf.
Desmond Wolf, yes, I can't
Regal would always be favourite. Barrett right now. What about British Bulldog? I think he'll always be in our hearts.
Pretty strongly. Those four, that's
definitely those four. Banzi765. Can you see the following superstars returning to WWE, and how would you bring them back? We've got a big list here, so we'll go through them. Jeff Hardy.
I think he should come back to keep to his word, but to bring him back, I think again, I think he finished with Punk, and Punk is the only last. I think at the time he'll come back, go straight to the main event, and go straight for Punk somehow.
Jeff Hardy with me. If TNA are going to treat him as their top guy, which they probably are, because it's the biggest merch seller and the draw they have, I can see him coming back to WWE because he has all these legal costs and they're going to give him a big payout. But how would I bring him back? I don't really know. I have no idea. Matt Hardy, no. He's working with ROH right now, and he's fucked up more than his fucking brother.
Very true. But I want to see him back, because I don't. But if he did come back, either reunite the Hardy Boys or have Matt Hardy not come back and Jeff go up to CM Punk.
Bobby Lashley, do you bring him back?
I still think he should have done better than he did. So Lashley, yes.
I think if he improved his mic skills and sounded a bit more like he looks, then yeah. I would bring him back to the WWE just because we need a guy like that, really.
And he went for the ECW, which, again, could be a step up before he goes to the WWE World Heavyweight. I think it's a bit of a shame that he didn't actually give him that.
Yeah, he was a guy that really could have gone on much further than he actually did in the WWE, really. Shelton Benjamin, he's working with ROH, so I would say no. I don't really see the point in bringing him back as a singles wrestler. He'd be mid-card anyway.
Even though I personally think Shelton Benjamin was in the progress of growing in the WWE, but obviously he just went.
Yeah.
So in a way, I would like to see him maybe come back. Obviously, the WWE did lose a lot of wrestling in 2010, especially.
Then the Senate run, releasing $50 million.
Sadly, that is the case. I think Shelton Benjamin was one that I think the WWE should not have lost, but that's just me.
MVP.
Another one.
A guy who, again, another one of those guys that just got stopped going into the main event scene for some reason. They never really progressed him up the card. He's working in Japan right now, so I would say he might return back to the WWE. Would I want him to return to the WWE? Yes. If I'd bring him back, I would try and make him into a main event guy, but that's just me. Batista's next, I'm guessing.
Oh, I love it. I would love him to come back.
Yeah.
If he comes back, like we said many times, take up John Cena and actually beat him in a match, get his revenge. Like, I'm back. I'm going to do what I didn't finish doing, which was make me the top of the game again.
I would love to see Batista return. Do I think he will? Probably not, unless he's getting a massive payday. He doesn't like the direction WWE are going right now. If I was going to bring him back, I'd feud him with Cena. I'd put him right at the top, really. You'd have to. How can you not put that guy at the top? John Morrison would be,
a guy that I think the dude should not have lost, but it's just that when it came to before he left, they slipped him up big time. So I'd say I'd love to see him back and actually fix what they did with him. But John Morrison, hopefully, has either found another place to settle in, but I would like to see him back in the WWE.
I just think the problem with John Morrison is that I don't think people really could believe him as a main event guy. I think Mr. Man was correct in that he wasn't really tough enough, and he didn't really have too many tools really to his character. So, I'd like to John Morrison. Do I see John Morrison coming back? Well, he's left now. He's doing independent stuff, so I could see him coming back if WWE wanted to. How would I bring him in? I
think maybe if they were like I miss these matches in a slight way, scramble matches, or had something that get loads of us involved, and he's a missing person to be involved in these kind of matches, and go for the mid-cardy belt and just kick his career back off with that. But just a random idea from the top of my head.
Paul London and Brian Kendrick, we would not bring back, especially Kendrick. Why would we want to bring them back? RVD, no, because he doesn't put the effort in anymore, and he just wins every time. No, RVD, no, I don't really want
to. Rob Van Dam, when he was in WWE, he did put on good hardcore matches. We can name that ladder match he was in.
Jeff
that
Hardy.
Was good to watch, but he's still not a character you could believe, especially if you've watched TNA guys, that he's going to be coming to the WWE. Maybe the WWE will book him differently, but still, RVD would want his say to be at the top of his game.
He is best friends with Jeff Hardy, so if Jeff Hardy came to WWE, there's a chance he would come. But with WWE's drug policy, do you really think they would let RVD in the company? Because I don't. Mr. Anderson.
I think they let him off too quickly in the WWE. Yes, he did take a lot of time out, which was bad for Mr. Anderson, but he's still someone that could have quite easily, I'm going to say easily because I do believe this, someone that could have done better than he did.
If it wasn't for the injuries, of course. So, I mean, I don't see Anderson coming back to WWE. I don't know why WWE would want him now. So, what about the Dudley Boys? Definitely Bully Ray. I don't see him going to WWE. I think it's more likely that Devon will, but
the fact you said the Dudley Boys, no. As much as they are a tag team that would help the tag division big time, Bully Ray has now found his place outside of a tag team, and for him to go back, he'll probably feel a bit like, oh, you're pushing me backwards instead of forwards.
Yeah, true. Boogeyman and Goldust.
Boogeyman, again, he's a gimmicky character, and in the PG era, he could be the entertainment thing for this. Goldust was the same, and he was someone that he's been in the WWE for a long time. So I think, to be honest, yes, he's came and gone already now, but more Boogeyman and Goldust in some ways.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have Boogeyman or Goldust, and really, to be honest, do I see them coming back to WWE? No. Dustin Rhodes has just been released, so I don't see that happening. Orminanin, I'm sorry if I pronounced it. Ormianin, that's the one. Sorry, I pronounced it right. How would you book WWE today to make it at least good? Okay, this is an interesting one. I think the first thing we would do is we would outline 6 or 7 guys we would like to push, and we would use Cena, Orton, people like that as a linchpin to try and make those stars. That's how I would book it, really.
That's number 2. Again, the writers, the fact they're trying to either save money or they're just trying to think of, right, we're going to go for rides that are good with children. I think they should just go with ones that are good with adults and have either the idea of what children might like, but I think the rides would be number 1. That'll help the WWE to be good, and then find out who's going to be the future.
The writing would be the first thing. Get rid of the Hollywood script writers. Get some wrestling writers in. For fuck's sake, get some wrestling writers in.
And then 3 onwards, I think it'd be like allow weapon usage, because yes, you don't really want your children to pick up on and start hitting their younger brother, younger sister, and stuff. But it's still something that you want to see from wrestlers.
There are many small things. I mean, I think to be honest, I would stop making WWE so top heavy. I mean, things with WWE is you have like maybe one big angle and that's it. I'd try and make some different angles in there. Really, try and promote mid card wrestling a bit more as a stepping stone. I mean. There's so many things the WWE could do to make it at least good. I mean, get rid of some of these filler pay-per-views, make SmackDown mean a bit more, get rid of the 3 hours, stop doing Linda's Senate camp. There are so many things.
I think that's definitely it. I think they're doing not the right thing, but they're still somehow keeping many people entertained.
Worst feuds of all time. Jerry Lawler, Michael Cole. That was a feud that got kind of well built up to, but then just sucked and got worse.
Okay, people are going to hate me for this, but I'm not calling it overall bad, but CM Punk, Daniel Bryan.
We saw it too much. That was the problem. We saw it too much. The AJ involvement was terrible.
True, and this was a great feud, but if it weren't doing too much, I would say it was great. John Cena and Edge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be the worst feud of all time. I think it was done too many times. That's the problem. And this is the thing. A lot of these feuds, they just get done too many times. Cena versus Orton was done way too much, and it just got boring and stale. Oh,
okay, let's go for worse. Then we'll go with Vince and Zach Gowen.
Yeah, that wasn't very good. There are loads. I mean, you could think of some in the early to mid '90s that were just awful that I just can't even remember. I don't even want to remember. Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez. Remember that one? That was fucking awful.
Anything to do with Carly, really, apart from when he was in the World Heavyweight. I guess
even when he was there, he sucked, didn't it? When he came in against Taker, yeah, but even when he was World Heavyweight Champion, it sucks.
Taker, boss man.
Oh, that Hell in a Cell match at 15. Oh, anything at 15 could have sucked, to be honest. Oh, that was terrible. We're just going to move away from that question. Favourite matches on free TV?
Shawn Michaels and Shelton Benjamin. Oh,
that was good. I think Angle and Brock Lesnar had an Iron Man match on SmackDown once. I think that was very good. So did John Cena and Shawn Michaels the night after WrestleMania. They had a match on free TV that was probably better than their WrestleMania match.
I'd say, I think it was John Morrison and The Miz.
They had a good match.
Yes, because that was for the title. Yes, I can remember.
It was the New Year episode, wasn't it? What about Flair versus Perfect in a in a loser leaves Raw match, kind of similar to Ziggler and Jericho. That was a good match. Flair versus Perfect. It was Flair's last match in the WWE in '93 at the time. That was when Raw first started, pretty much. Any more? I can't really think of any more, to be honest. There probably are a lot. I mean, remember that tag team match, Austin and Triple H versus Benoit and Jericho, where Triple H unfortunately tore his quad? That was a really good match until the injury.
That's true. Again, I think it did make a pay-per-view like Miz and Riley. I think they could have built that up more and gave a better match. But I'm sure they have no pay-per-view. I'm just saying that one could have done better.
Directly to Mr. Parkin. What would be your all-star football team? Okay. In goal, I'd guess I'd have Gordon Banks in goal. Right back, Carlos Alberto. Centre backs, Bobby Moore, and I'll think of one in a minute. Left back, Stuart Pearce. Right midfield, David Beckham. Central midfield, Zinedine Zidane, and probably like a Luis Figo or something on the left. Another central midfielder, I guess Beckenbauer. Strikers, Pele, and I guess what other strikers are there? Eusebio. There are a lot of great players out there, so no, that's my dream team. That's my football dream team. There are so many players. I just made one up, so there we go. I didn't think of a centre back, but I guess another great centre back would be. I'm going to put Cafu there, right back for Brazil, but I can put him in there. AJ Warrior asked us some more questions. There's talk that they might get Taker to 30-0. I don't see it. What about you? No, he's now 20. Years. What is he? 20-0? 21?
I think he's just done 20-0 with.
He's not going to go 10 more years, is he? Maybe a couple more, not 10.
Again, I think the fact that he's already at a round number. The next one could be as large if they want to push it more, but I don't see 30. That is another round number. 10 years of Taker, who's not in the W hardly ever.
Yeah. No, I don't see it either. As many people would, I would love to be a heel, not a fan or face, apart from Kofi Kingston, 619, and Alex Riley. My question is, why is it that people would rather be heels than faces? Well, it's a lot easier to be a heel because it's a lot easier to get yourself over. It's so much easier to get hated than it is to be liked.
I think one thing, especially if you're a main eventer heel, the fact you can just work off Cena, say why Cena sucks and how bad he is.
It's easy. You know? The mic skills involved in being a heel are so much easier than being a face. And your sole purpose as a heel is to try and get as much heat on yourself so you can get the babyface over. So that's why, plus heels are generally more entertaining because we enjoy what the heels do more because the babyfaces are so generic. We enjoy what the heels do a lot more, don't we?
And that's why we complain when some of the greatest heels turn face.
Yeah, it's true. How long do you see Santino becoming a funny guy? Actually, no, sorry. I skipped a question there. Howard the Man. When will Vince start believing in tag teams in the women's division just like he did 10, 15 years ago? I think that's more a Triple H thing. As Triple H takes over, he'll focus on the tag teams, but he doesn't like the women's. But right now, Vince is only focused on singles. So until Triple H comes in, they won't start focusing on the tag teams until then. And then even Triple H wants to get rid of women's. So
pretty much, I think the tag team, they are starting right now. I think obviously Triple H is joining him with this same. Vince is allowing it or whatever's going on. The Divas, they're still going to have their involvement, but I don't think they're going to grow anywhere more.
How long do you see Santino becoming the funny guy? I think he needs to lose that stupid Cobra sock. It's ruining his matches, just like when he lost the belt. I mean, as Santino got to a point where, even with his gimmick, he just don't give a shit about him. Because I got to that point. I don't give a shit about Santino anymore.
I loved him as the IC champion. I'm not going to lie. I loved that when he had that honka-tonka-mita. And the Santino tag, great. When he came to US champ, at first I thought, okay, give it to someone who's been through all this time, but then that died down. The sock gimmick, at first when he did it without the sock, it was fine. But then obviously they made it too kiddish, and the sock had him on its own. Went really weird. I think the comedy side should stay because he's really great at that. Yeah. But other than that, he's starting to slip up, sadly.
He is a great comedy guy. The only trouble is, it's very hard to take him seriously, so he can't really do that much or be anything more than WWE than a comedy character, and that's the problem. If he wants to progress his character, he has to be more serious. But I don't know. Yellow 89341. What would WrestleMania be like without The Undertaker? I mean, it would lack the big thing about WrestleMania is Undertaker's streak. It would lack a lot of marketability, wouldn't it?
Well, without Undertaker, they did have Shawn Michaels Mr. WrestleMania, but it still wasn't the same without Taker, who also made a living out of WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania would still be a big icon with the big match they've been to the whole year, but Taker definitely helps it to be something you expect every year.
Definitely so. Which of these matches would you like to see at a future WrestleMania? We've got 3 to choose from here. Austin Aries versus Chris Jericho, AJ Styles versus John Cena, or Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. All three good matches in their own right.
I'm picking the first one.
Yeah, I'm so right. Austin Aries versus Jericho. I mean, that'd be great.
Well, because obviously I don't want to do Cena, and obviously if Cena does happen, it's going to be AJ Styles who makes Cena look good. We always said that before.
Yeah.
So Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, again, yes, they're two kind of good, strong fighters against each other, and it's going to be a strong match, but I think seeing Jericho, who's a great performer, as we've seen many times, against Aries, who likes to go against bigger guys, I think that would be a classic match.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to see AJ Styles versus John Cena, top TNA versus top WWE, Aries versus Jericho would be something different. Last question we're going to do on this hour-long Q&A. This is a good one to end on, by the way. How do you think WWE should structure the order of their pay-per-views, and what pay-per-views should they actually have? Okay, he's got an order here, but we'll go off this order. Royal Rumble January speaks for itself. February, No Way Out, like it used to be. That was always the best pay-per-view before WrestleMania, which is in April. Backlash after WrestleMania, definitely.
Oh, I miss that pay-per-view. Extreme Rules, it's still got a ring to it, but you're expecting hardcore matches, and the WWE just don't do them as well as they used to.
Judgment Day after that.
Judgment Day has a good ring to it.
And then before SummerSlam, King of the Ring, to get a number one contender for SummerSlam.
I wasn't the greatest fan of King of the Rings.
Money in the Bank,
now they've ruined it. Money in the Bank pay I still don't agree with, so what else they could have
No Mercy.
No Mercy, there we go.
I mean, I'd have King of the Ring before SummerSlam, just personally. SummerSlam, of course, then you'd have... we got Night of Champions here as a September pay-per-view. I would have
that,
Unforgiven or something, personally.
Even though I do enjoy some Night of Champions, I do miss the old stuff.
Yeah, Survivor Series could stay,
Love
and
that.
definitely Armageddon was the last one, not TLC. Yeah, so that's our ordering there.
Even though Armageddon does have a ring to it, but TLC, yes, they have chair matches, but other than that, TLCs have actually turned out to be pretty good pay-per-views.
They have, but I still think the gimmick pay-per-view is just... I think TLC is the best example of a gimmick pay-per-view, maybe other than Money in the Bank, but Armageddon I think would just suit it better. But I see your point with TLC. But yeah, like I said, we've been going for over an hour now, so we are quite tired, but we've enjoyed answering your questions, and we got through a lot of them, and next week, Terminator NJ is going to be, and if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching this Q&A. You can put your thoughts and stuff on the questions you've answered. We've answered a lot in the comment section below, and keep sending us questions for the future Q&As that we're going to do, and if we get a good response on this, maybe we'll do an hour Q&A down the line or something, who really knows. Anything more you want to add before we leave this video?
People, again, we've gone through a lot of questions here, but the thing is, we want a hell lot more, so just keep them coming.
Yes.
Send us loads of questions. Send Terminator NJ Chris as much as you can. Yeah. And all I can say is from me, NJ, Mr. Parkin, and Terminator NJ, and all you lovely people out there, thank you very much, and